Step into the light where the wild ones roam, where the heart speaks loud, calling this place home. We break the rules, we paint the sky, ridiculously you, we were born to fly. Ooh, it's ridiculously you.
Hey everyone, it is Julie May and the Ridiculously You podcast. Welcome everyone today. So our guest today is the kind of quiet genius who will help you feel deeply seen and then help you write a book that's been trapped inside your bones about that. Jane Hardjono is a coach for nonfiction writers and creative entrepreneurs, but that just barely scratches the surface of who she is. She's also a trained musician, which I am a huge music lover. Music is a big part of my life. She's a movement practitioner. She's a bit of a global human who has lived in many places all over the world. And she is a woman who finally stopped compartmentalizes all the different parts of her and let that creative chaos become kind of her magic, which I am excited to talk more about because, as somebody who also is a little bit of a chaos queen of having so many different things about me that it's like, oh, but I love music and I love this and I love that and I love that. And we just bring it all together. We are whole people who have many different aspects. So that was one of the things that I noticed about you, Jane, that I was like, ooh, I can't wait to talk more about that because a lot of times people will get buried into a hole of, and it's almost like their identity. It's like if your identity was well, you are a book writing coach. That's all you can be. You can't love music over here, and you can't love movement over there, and you can't love this over there, and that can't be part of you. You have to be book coach, and it has to look like this. And I'm like, it drives me a little crazy because I'm like, y'all, we have so many pieces and parts of us that bring to the table that create this whole way of doing things. So, with that super long intro, thanks for being with me today, Jane.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic, it's really interesting to hear that being mirrored back to me. And I think what's really interesting about this being multifaceted and that sort of thing is we are fractals and we contain all of these elements. And I think what a lot of people struggle with is how do we communicate about it? And it doesn't work if it comes out as a tumble, it becomes incoherent if we talk about all of the things. So in terms of communicating, yes, it's really important to choose what we focus on when we talk about things, but we can't deny the fact, we can't turn what we communicate about into our identity. We kind of really need to embrace the wholeness of us as humans, but then when we're talking about what we do, it is really important to streamline. And that's something I really struggled with, and it's something that a lot of the people I work with struggle with because they want to have all the things and do all the things and talk about all the things, and sometimes it can't reach the person or the people that you need it to reach because it's diluted. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really interesting struggle that we have as human beings because we are complex. But then when we need to speak to each other, we need to get an idea from our self and our brain into somebody else's self and brain. And if we go, it can kind of misland or not land at all.
Exactly. So how do you do that when you have all of these different pieces of you and you're trying to communicate? Let's just go down the rabbit hole of, book writing coach. How do you take that message and be super clear with it while keeping some of those other pieces about you, those pieces about movement and how that inspires and helps them write the books? And how do you keep that clear so the message is clear, but you still incorporate all of those aspects enough for them to understand what makes you maybe different than another book writing coach?
That's a really great question, and I don't have the perfect solution, but what I would say is most of the way that I communicate with my authors before they've started with me or while I'm working with them is really to talk about what writing a book is going to bring them. When in fact, so bring them in terms of what they're looking for, building their business, and their authority, being known as an expert or a thought leader, all those sorts of things, perhaps getting more keynote speeches podcast guesting, that sort of thing. So they're practical things that appeal to the person, the individual. But really, once we start working together, we work on identity and we work on the process. I mean, we really focus on the process. In fact, the process becomes, I'm giving away all my secrets, but anyway, no, the process is actually the most important part. Whatever happens at the end is actually a bonus. But I have to talk about what they're going to get at the end, because no one is going to buy a process. Boring. Like, who's going to... Yeah. But the thing is, the transformation that happens is, you're writing about... you'll be writing about your reader going through a transformation. Like they don't know something, they read the book, and at the end they're like, oh, I know how to do this thing, or I understand this concept, this thing that you stand for, this framework, whatever. But as the writer, you write about it, but you change, like you transform in that process and you learn what it means to be a writer. No one's going to buy that. I mean, I can't talk about that. I can't talk about that embodied experience because it's that you can't use words to explain that. So you have to go to the end to be clear about what it is that you want. And this goes for everything. But then having the experience and traveling with the person can only be done in the doing and in the movement and in the experience and the sensing, of that relationship, actually.
Yeah, I've heard a lot in marketing that you need to sell them what they think they want so that you can give them what they need in the process. And I think that's a lot of what you're describing there. And I've done, so much personal development sales over the last 11 years of my career. Sales has been a big piece of what I've offered, and I've owned my own sales company for a really long time. And that is true. Like, you have to have a really clear, like, this is what where your struggle is. This is what the outcome you're going to get. You have to have a very clear, like, here's the deliverable that you want at the end. And then sometimes you're like giggling inside going, yeah, but it's going to be so much more than that. But like, they don't want to hear that right now. That's going to overwhelm them. That's going to be like that. That's not what they think they want right now. But, and it's not to say like that it's, you're tricking them into it, because it's like, no, that's not what we're talking about here. Cause I can hear people out there thinking to themselves, so you're tricking people? And I'm like, no. What we're doing is saying, we know what you want. I'm delivering exactly what you want, but it's going to be so much more, but you're not ready to hear that quite yet. It's not the thing that like sells something and it kind of even muddles up the message. And then when they get in, it's like, wow, transformation time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I love how you articulated it. That's really clear because, again, but I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, thinking that they're luring people in with false promises of something and then they're going to get something else. But actually, in my experience, I have bought programs, courses, and done trainings where I think I'm buying one thing, and then you step into that world and you're like, wow, it's way better than it's transformational. There's so many breakthroughs. There's so many things going on, and not even necessarily in the mindset of having a personal development transformation, but that's what happens. And then you realize, and then that's what stays with you. And of course you have the tools and the things as well. That's great. But if that was all they gave you, I think you'd feel ripped off then. You would feel really bereft from only getting what they said they'd give you. I mean, you want that at least, but you kind of want more. On a deeper level, we all want more, don't we?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think it's our responsibility, those of us who are kind of leaders, coaches, and in that, influence space, to go, okay, if I'm going to step into this space, how can I offer more? How can I offer them something deeper, something more than what they thought they were getting into in the podcast? And that's what we try to do, like with Ridiculously You podcast. Like, it sounds like you're going to get on and you're going to have a good time, which we do, and be silly a little bit. But additionally, we get into like some pretty good deep stories. So with that, I want to ask you a little bit about your story. What got you into wanting to write books and wanting to like really get in and help people? What was that journey like for you?
That's such a great question. And I think, so I've always written, enjoyed doing that. And but then took a little detour in my teens and decided I wanted to be a performer and wanted to play piano. And that's what I did till I was about 21. And then after I finished university, I fell into an advertising role. It's kind of random. It has nothing to do with, well, it does a little bit have to do with performance, but yeah, not really. And was on the suit side. So I was looking after the accounts and that sort of thing. And, but really wanted to become a copywriter. So I just sort of I sort of started off as a youngster wanting to write books and reading a whole heap, did this sort of music intermezzo, and then fell into advertising. And then I really wanted to become a copywriter. So I started training and doing things on the side. And then eventually I decided to move to the other side of the world, to the Netherlands, and moved into PR and communications, and eventually became a freelance writer and translator. So I did that because English is the second language there. And so I had many clients. It was in a smallish town, like the fifth largest city in the Netherlands. So, yeah. And I had a lot of clients, and one of my former clients was a designer, and he had these aspirations to write a book, and he just thought, am I a writer? Could I change my identity from being a designer? And he made cars and chairs, like he was a product designer.
Oh wow.
Can someone who worked with their hands, can I write a book? Could I really call myself a writer? And so we were in a bookshop. It was New Year's Day, I think, or the second day after New Year's, and we were in a bookshop, and he saw me, and we'd worked on something else before, his master's or something like that. And he came over to wish me a happy new year, and then he said, Jane, I've always wanted to write a book. Would you help me write a book? And I just went, okay. And so we're in this bookshop. It's New Year's Day, or roughly, and it's just the year is full of possibilities and potential. And so I just said yes. 2 years later, his book was on the shelves of that bookstore. So we did it together, and but I had never coached anyone to do that before. So I was asked to do it. I was honoured to do it, and it was with someone with whom I'd already had a working relationship. And what I've discovered since then is if we have a really good relationship where you can say what you think, give and receive feedback on both sides, where it's safe to be vulnerable, it's safe to say that you don't like what the other person has said, or their feedback, or that's hurtful, or whatever it is, on both sides. That's the most fruitful working relationship for writing a book, because there's a lot of emotions that go into writing a book. And I work only on nonfiction, but if it's something that you're writing about, something you believe in, or something that you've researched for 20 years, or something that you know really well, it's your baby. And then here am I. I come in and I make your dream my dream. Like, we work really hard on developing this united vision. Like, you have to, as the writer, you have to convince me that this is a book I want to help you write as well. And then when I understand the book, then I defend the book and stand in for the book. So that if I feel the person's going off track, I can always say, well, this is how I understand the book needs to be, and the direction it needs to be in. And they'll be like, oh no, I've changed tack, which is fine. So we agree on that. Or they're like, oh no, you have a point there. We should probably come back. Or then there's so many ways that conversation can go. But if our relationship is good, then we can recover from that. And it's always a great, it's been really good. I've had clashes, I've had, moments of real honesty like you wouldn't believe. And it's only the better for it. And I think that's something we can tend to shy away from. We want to feel psychologically safe. It's such a dangerous word. Then it means you're never challenged. It can mean that you're not challenged. And I think it's good to be challenged if you know that it's safe for you, like it's padded, like you can fall over, you can stumble a little bit, and you won't be broken into a million pieces, because we care about each other genuinely. That's what that's about. And I get a bit cross or a bit upset with psychological safety being misused a little bit, where like it's either an opportunity to, I don't know, be unfiltered. Like I think that goes too far. Do you know what I mean? Or for bad behaviour sort of thing. Whereas, just to sort of kind of go back to your inner child, but not in the most positive sense, But I think if you create a safe space, that's where everyone can make mistakes and recover, and that's where resilience grows, and a great book.
Yeah, I think those kind of relationships are important so many different places in our lives. Can you share with us some of the things that you do, like in the beginning of a relationship in this coaching world, which I think is still like broadly across lots of areas? We want to create these kinds of relationships. What do you do right in the beginning there to kind of foster that kind of a relationship so you feel safe, but you're also, like you said, not going too far into the now it's just an excuse to be mean, or like, how do you foster that in the beginning, and what do you do throughout to kind of create that relationship where you can kind of banter back and forth, you can push back a little bit in a really good way? Tell me a little bit more about that, because I think that would be so helpful for everyone.
Yeah, I find I'm a big fan of being completely, again, there's another dangerous word, authentic, because again, it can be misconstrued and misunderstood. But what's the better word? Like full disclosure. Like there is a filter. Like obviously, I'm not going to share things inappropriately, but I will speak about it on a meta level. Like when I enter into a coaching agreement with someone, I'll say to them, how have you dealt with, we'll have a conversation, and because I am working remotely, we will have a conversation about how they have handled feedback that has stung, and what they've done, so that I can see, in as much as you can online, but, so that I can pick up on whether that's happening or not. Also, we talk a lot about, like even before I provide written feedback, I will preface it with some of these comments. They're in black and white. You may receive them this way, but this is what I was thinking at the time. So it's not that I'm wanting to make disclaimers on everything, but I'm fully aware that when you read somebody's making a suggestion about something that you've written, it does something to you, and I'm really aware of that, and I invite them to share with me what it's done with them. What they've sensed in themselves, and we do talk about that, and we can also work through that with coaching through the body approaches in the coaching session itself, which is done online. But a lot of the time, the people I work with are very articulate and prefer to talk about it, which is also fine, and I follow them, whatever it is that they want in the moment. But I think speaking to what could happen or what has happened with them in the past, and giving them the opportunity all the time to say, I didn't like it when, or or when I notice they're getting defensive, then we speak to that. I can hear in your voice that you're not really happy with, this, that, and the other. Let's talk about it. And we talk about it, or there's no point kind of, or sometimes it's done. A lot of authors prefer to write about it, so there'll be an email exchange, but it's very nurturing and caring. It's done in a way that's where I really, really am curious about what it is that they're experiencing, because I don't want to justify why I am doing something. It's usually unintentional. They've received something in the way that they've received it, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's helpful.
Have you had a client in the past who's had a bit of a meltdown about the feedback they've received, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, not necessarily the feedback, more like the direction of the process. So the process was feeling like it was getting off track for so they really wanted to work only on the book. They weren't interested in working. So there was an instance where I wanted to focus on the writing craft, which took them away from the content of the book. And they found that very frustrating. But they said it almost immediately. We had a co-working space. We spent, I think I had a few people in the room. I did a mini coaching session with that person. gave them some stuff to do, and then at the end of the hour we were to come back into another breakout room and discuss what they had done in that hour. And they hadn't done anything because they'd spent ages looking for a piece of writing in order to be able to do the exercise, and they felt like they'd wasted their time. And so I apologised and took it on as feedback going forward. And I gave them, we ended up doing another session, and it was fine. But it was, again, I had an intention for that person I thought would be helpful for them, and they were very focused on staying, just only connecting with their content, and I didn't know that. So, so they were very forgiving, and they felt like it was okay for them to say, this isn't the deal, or this is not what I want, and it wasn't like I was going to say, oh, but I'm the coach, I'm in charge of. No, not at all. It's a very organic process, and so I dealt with the writing craft questions with the content. I didn't try to ask them to do discrete writing craft tasks, sort of thing. So that worked out well in the end.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about enjoying like movement and music and stuff like that. How does that affect you in your writing process when you're going to go do some writing, when you're going to go do some coaching about writing? How those things help you?
Yeah, that's really great. I have a daily movement practice. So although at this time, there are certain times of the year where it gets very busy and you can kind of let that go. But generally the movement practice that I do is called awareness through movement. So it's a form of moving meditation, really. And as you do the movements, you're actually processing this in an algorithmic way. What you're thinking as you're moving, what you're thinking about the movement, how you're sensing the movement, how you feel, like what sort of emotions are coming up as you do the movement, which might have associations, it may have no associations. You might be feeling like you're not doing it right, or you might be feeling like, why can't I, what's wrong with me? There can be lots of feelings with the movement, and then how you do the movement. So as you go through that, and they're very simple and gentle and slowing movements, I find that really connects me back to gravity and to the ground. And when I feel connected to my bones and to, being human and connected to myself and to my environment, my writing is far more vivid. It's not as vague or scattered. Yeah. It's more rooted in whatever it is that I'm focusing on. It gives me far more focus. Yeah.
How did you find out about like how movement affects all of those things, and how to even do kind of a movement process? I'm so fascinated by that, because I think each of us have our thing that really works for us. I have to feel grounded each day. I'm a person who like puts my feet in the grass, does a thing. I have to walk every day, or like I feel like a crazy person almost if I don't have like my little bit of movement. But like, how did you find out about how movement affects you? And was there any training you did, or was this something you discovered on your own?
Yeah, so I've done two types of training. One of them is, so I'm a certified embodiment coach. So you know how you've got life coaches and business coaches, financial coaches, fitness coaches, relationship coaches, and they coach you in that area. And a lot of the time, and I'm not saying all of the time, but a lot of the time it's talk-based, and it's thinking about mindset. So the type of the coaching I did, which is embodiment coaching, is technically coaching through the body. So the questions that you ask are asked to the body, and the answers come from the person's how well they listen to the signals coming from their body. So that was one training that I did. I learned so much on the training, because you have to do it in order to do it. You have to do it. You have it done in order to do it. And then I'm a Feldenkrais Method practitioner. And so that is, it's a movement-based method of learning. So you're learning how to learn, or you're learning about yourself through movement. Yeah. And so that it's almost a philosophy, and it's systems thinking in real life. So it's systems thinking. When you think about a system within a system and it's connecting to a system, you change one thing and then, like, it's so complicated, but the body is that. So I can just go like that and, a couple of times. And then eventually, like after a while, after my brain's sort of figured it out, the distance between my shoulder and my ear will feel greater. Like there's just these things, because we're a system within a system, within the system of our relationships with other people and in the world. So, when you change a movement, you can change how you think. And if you change how you think, you can change how you act in the world. So as a philosophy, for me, Feldenkrais, it's really a thinking person's practice. I mean, in the sense, because you can just talk about it a lot, but then you also have to do stuff. So it forces you to be in your body, but there's a lot of philosophy and theory that goes with it that people love if they like to talk. So it sort of suits me perfectly.
Can you give us a bigger example? Can you showcase it? I mean, you could walk me through something.
Yeah.
You can do it yourself.
Yeah,
Show us what it looks like.
Okay, so something as simple as, so if you take your hand and put it on your head, right? And so turn to look to your right and then come back to the middle and do it slowly. So turn to look to your right, yeah, and do it slowly and come back, yeah, and then do it one more time. Okay, now try looking to the right but moving your elbow with you to the right. And okay, that's good. So as you do this, so continue doing this and just reflect on, keep doing it, Julie. As I ask you to do this, what are you thinking? And notice what you're thinking. Are you breathing?
I noticed I held my breath a little, and then I was like, am I doing this correctly?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, okay, so there's a couple of things going on there. For a good movement, technically you need to be breathing.
Yeah,
I
think so.
But also the question, am I doing this correctly, is like, no, you're just doing it the way Julie does it. And that's perfectly fine. Like it's so that, because you know what, the way you move your eyes and elbow to the right, like that's one way, but I would do it like this. That's just how I would do it. But that's how I would do it. That's not wrong the way you did it. And so this giving yourself complete agency, like saying the way I do things is okay. That's what I love about this method, because I think we get into this idea of movement. There is optimal movement. There's maximum efficiency, minimum effort. So you could do it really clunkily, but it's still your way. That's just one of the 8 billion ways that you can move your body. But also in this practice, you can learn different ways of doing something, and then you can make it your own. So then you can expand your repertoire. And it's never a case of, is it right or wrong? Am I breathing? Well, yeah, breathing is usually beneficial, and that it feels easy is what we want. We don't want you don't want to move through life with difficulty. No one does. Even if you work out like you're at the gym, at a certain point you want to feel good. Like you want your life to feel easier as a result of any effort that you put into something. So generally speaking, so with my writing coaching, my embodiment coaching and Feldenkrais practice, my goal is for people to do the things in life that they want to do, to be aware of how they're doing it, and also for it to not feel like hard work. And I'm not saying that writing a book is easy, but it can be an enjoyable process. And even when it gets difficult or challenging, for you to be accepting of that, because I mean, just accept it. I mean, accept how you do it today, and maybe you do it like that. Maybe that's how you, but tomorrow you might you might do that. I don't know. Who knows? It's the options are endless. What your potential is limitless, and that's what this process, what that practice gives to me, is actually you can make the impossible possible.
So does each movement have a different part of the brain it's trying to wire with? Does it each have a different purpose? Like, so what did this one specifically that we were doing work on?
Yeah. So that's the interesting thing, because you're different to the next person. So for you, that could have been something to do with the lower part of your neck and at the back of your neck and your eyes, because that's what that was important to you or interesting to you, right? For me,
Right.
it's about the pelvis, because I was rotating from all the way down my spine. But that was a decision my body made or I made. Sometimes you do it consciously, but half the time you just do whatever you think. Whatever you think is right, or whatever you think you want to do or you're able to do on that day. So you have these lessons which can be given in a group lesson or individually. But basically, if you have 10 people in the room doing the same movements, what they get out of it is going to be 10 different answers. And so, because we're a system. So when one person's moving their arms, that movement can be coming from their left heel. I don't know. I don't know what that system is dealing with, or what questions they're asking, or what they're struggling with, or what they are wanting to know. And that person, it's just in their arms. Or the next person, it's in their breath, in their breathing. And another person, it's their feelings of self-worth. It can be really anything. So it's it's fascinating in that sense. So it's not like, so there's a lot of neuroplastic, neuro-linguistic and neuroplastic programming that you can do that do relate to, you do certain things and then that will connect to certain pathways. This is more organic and more, and it gives the learning back to the person who owns the body. It's got nothing, I just facilitate it. And for me as a practitioner, I love that because it gives me a relationship with the other person, but that person is in charge of their learning, and they are perfect as they are. Like whatever they've learned on that day is what they needed to learn that day. It's not that they failed or I failed or they succeeded or I succeeded. It's about what they were open to in that moment on that day when that movement was offered to them. And and then they will learn what they're going to learn.
So is it connected to any other ideas? So, because I'm like thinking to myself, is it connected to like the chakra that's right there? Is that like my throat chakra and that would have been your sacral chakra? Or is it connected to ideas like, I don't know if you've read the book, like The Body Holds the Score, and, where different pieces of your body kind of have different meanings to them? Or is it more just like for that person, whatever the meaning they put into it?
Yeah, it really has to do with that person's self-image. So if that person, like I worked with someone the other day, and for her, talking about the chakral centers for them made complete sense. And we were talking about safety, and she was having trouble with her tailbone, and that was a theme for her in her life. So she made meaning. I mean, I might have said chakra because I know her and I know how, but then I don't know, if I had a builder on my table or a football player, I might not say, I might not offer that because it's not, they're like, what's that? And then we'd have to, so no, it doesn't, it's not rooted in those traditions. And the beauty of the practice is, so on my training, we had people who were like, there was a dentist, and we've had nurses and massage therapists and dancers, musicians, doctors, all sorts of professions will want to do this training because it informs their own day-to-day, like it just enhances their life personally, but also, I don't know, the dentist, for example, he may work with other dentists to kind of help them be able to hold themselves in this position with small motor, because that does something to, and then, how is that kind of and then he'd use language that makes sense to that group of people, kind of thing. So it's, I would say the person who devised it, his name is Feldenkrais, but the person who devised it was a physicist and a martial artist. So and spoke many languages. So it's just, and was married to a paediatrician. So really interested in child development. So there was just this whole, so many things that kind of make it work for so many different people. So it's not really it's not tied to like Eastern traditions or a certain belief system or anything like that. It's kind of scientific in that sense.
Oh, that's so cool. So I'm like, oh, that's really fascinating, and I can see how that could help people, like, without them needing to have all of the background of here's how this system works and this body part means that. It's like it can mean lots of different things to lots of different people, which kind of goes back to what we were saying at the beginning about being, these fractal people of lots of different interests and belief systems and everything that makes up us. This kind of allows them to go from where they're at without it having to fit in some little box of whatever.
Yeah, I love how you say that, because I think there is this pressure for us to conform to something, whereas I think living should happen from the inside out. And your writing, your impulse, or your wishes, what you want, what Julie wants in her life is so unique to Julie. Even though, we grow up and we live in a society that says you should want this. You should want this, you should do this, you should aspire to this. And so we take it, we do. It comes in a little bit, and we forget who the ultimate authority is. We do. We kind of, because part of us goes, I need to have the house and the car and the money, I don't know, whatever. I'm not saying that that's, but, and it needs to, be this colour and, this type of shoe. I don't know. But actually, if you took all of that conditioning away and asked, what do I want? Like, some of us don't know. Like, we really do not know. And it's because we're waiting for permission. A lot of us are waiting for permission. Am I doing this movement correctly? Yes, you are. But it's something, it's tiny. And if we realise, oh my God, am I waiting for permission to do this, that, or the other? Then that's when you start to become courageous. That's when you sort of go, oh my gosh, I can drink a glass of water now, or I can wait 5 minutes. I don't have to. There's no one actually standing over me saying you need to do this, otherwise you'll have, pimples or, bad skin, or, it's just, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting thing, like, becoming an adult and realizing that the world is your, like, oyster and stuff. And I think we realize that when we're like 18, 19, 20, 21 even. It's like, oh, I can do anything. But something happens. I don't know. I'm 49, and something happens as you get older and older, and all of a sudden you feel like you have to fit in box of mom, or even box of entrepreneur, or, book writing coach, or whatever it is. And it's like, wait a minute. I forget sometimes. I think everyone forgets sometimes. I'm the one who makes the rules. I am the one who designs my life. I'm the one who gets to create this beautiful experience around me. And it can be anything I doggone want, frankly, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. It's like, I get to decide.
Yeah, I think there are, I'm astonished actually at the number of people I encounter who really feel like that they're like, oh, I could design my life. Like, really? You even hear it in how people speak sometimes, that they feel really pent in or limited by, well, the life that they chose, but that it's not, the life that was foisted upon them, and it's like, well, part of me is going, who said you had to do any of that? But I don't say that, but because you see they're suffering, you see that they're struggling with whatever it is that is going on for them in that moment. But if people know that there's the opportunity or the option to listen to the inner wisdom, that's not even language I normally use, but it is, it really is. And we just dampen it because I think in 2025, 2026, it's really the messages that we're getting from outside are far louder and numerous than than what we're willing to pay attention to that's coming up for us. And we're just saying yes sir, no sir to whatever's occurring around us. And I think we do need to slow down, and it's such a cliche, and people find it really difficult. And that's why I like to run these group lessons, because you're forced to come to class or log in, whatever, and you have to lie on the ground. You have to lie on the ground, and there's a purpose in that. One is you're in zero gravity, but you can't do things fast when you're lying on the ground. I'm not gonna make you jump up because your nervous system can't learn. So you want to be lying down. You do slow, and you have to slow down, and then that's when you start listening for, oh, who says I have to lift my arm like that? I'm going to lift it like this. This is much more comfortable if I lift my arm like this. Whereas if you're watching, and I don't do it, I don't give a demonstration of what to do. I just use words. So if I did it, you would just do what you saw. That's what we're like. We're visual, like a lot of us are really visual. And then you just override the voice inside of, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to get my knee to touch my nose? Or whatever, I don't know, whatever, how far can I get my knee towards my nose before it starts to hurt? And how far will I do it before it hurts? Because the goal is to not hurt yourself. So when am I going to stop? Who is really in charge? Is it because the lady said to move my knee towards my elbow or my knee, my nose or whatever? Or is I'm just going to decide because I want to take care of myself. I want to be kind to myself. And I think this is, again, we have forgotten how to do that. We're so focused on people outside of ourselves. We know it's important to be kind to other people. But if we can't do it for ourselves, how on earth are we going to be any good at doing it for other people? So we need to be, don't make your nose touch your knee if it hurts. Just don't do it.
Right.
Whatever it is, whatever.
Even if that's the instruction you heard from somebody else. You are the ruler of your life. You
I know,
decide.
and that's why it's just funny because it's a metaphor for everything. So if someone says you should, I don't know, run your own business, like that, there's millions of definitions of what that is, what a successful business is. So if you go and work with a business coach and they say this, I don't know, just say they did say this is what a successful business would look like and this is exactly how you have to do it. And then you just go, okay, I mean, maybe that's not the best example, but it's, there's certain, you need to be able to have a say in your life. You can't just, that's so important. I think we forget that. So if you come back to really simple things like, I don't know, whatever it is, then we're like, oh yeah, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that now. Yeah. I'm going to do it a bit faster. just do, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting balance we play of knowing when somebody else is an expert and we're looking to them for advice and to follow that advice because it's something we don't know. And sometimes you step out into the unknown, not knowing things, and when to trust, there's that little gut instinct you have that's like, nah, man, that isn't for me. And I think that's when you can figure out when is the time to do each thing, I think you're on a good road for success.
Yeah.
All right, Jane, are you ready for a lightning round?
Yes. All right. I'm ready for it. Let's do it.
Ready. Okay. What is the most physically awkward thing you've done on purpose?
Oh, God. Recently, a somersault. Yeah, that's not
fair.
something.
I can't remember the last time I did a somersault. That would be awkward.
Yeah. And completely. I'm a year older than you, so
that whole 1 year.
Yeah. It makes a difference. Do one now.
This is the weird thing. I probably could. I can still do the splits. I'm really weirdly.
I'm working on that.
Yeah,
I'm working on the splits,
is
and
possible.
You can do them.
So, I don't know. So this is such a quick story, but my daughter was in gymnastics a while back, and they were trying to teach her how to do a front handspring, and she was like, well, she was scared of it because it was going forward instead of backward.
Yeah.
And she was like, fine, Mom, well, I'll do it if you do it. And she thought I couldn't, and I hadn't done one since I was like, I don't know, 15 years old. And I went and did one, and she was like, oh crap, now I have to do it. And I just kind of
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. That's pretty amazing.
I don't know. I'm weird like that. Okay. What do you think? What's one book you think everyone should read?
Oh, Tiny Experiments by Anna-Laure Kuntz, I think her name is. It's a recent release. Really good.
Cool. Excellent. What's a writing rule that you love to break?
Starting a sentence with "and" or "but."
Love
but
that.
Usually "and," yeah.
What's one word that describes how it feels when you are fully in your body?
Body full.
I like that. I like that. Favorite place you've ever lived?
Oh no, that's mean. I can't. But I'll say New Zealand.
Yeah. It's okay if it changes day to day or minute
it
to
does
minute.
change
Right
day
now,
to
you're feeling New Zealand.
Yeah. Lucky because I'm here.
That is amazing. Favorite music to dance to?
Anything without words or a clear beat.
No words, no clear beat.
Well, just a very quick story. I do a weekly dance training. It's called Untraining, and it's all improv. And often it's exactly what I just said. No words and no clear beat, no driving beat. It's fantastic.
I love that just because it's the opposite of what people think you need for dance. It's like, okay, with dance, let's have a beat. So you could be like 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3.
It's like, nah, don't want any of that.
No, none of that. Oh, too fun. Well, I love how you have shown us how to express yourself outside the box, how to learn from your body, how to move forward with a big project like a book. That it takes a lot of dedication to get through and actually complete a book and get it out there and market it and do all the things required in that. And you've shown us some really cool ideas for how to do that in a really out of the box, more ridiculous kind of way. So I love that. Where can people find you, Jane?
Yeah, so I'm on janehardjono.com, and I post regularly on LinkedIn, and I have a YouTube channel called Be Do Right. So they're the places that you can find stuff that I do.
Awesome. We will have all of her links in the description, so make sure to check it there. Be Do Right on YouTube, so go follow her there. Go to her LinkedIn. LinkedIn's always such a good place to follow people. And if you enjoyed this podcast, which I know you guys did because she had so much great stuff to share, make sure you download it, like, subscribe, share it with a friend. And this has been Julie May with Ridiculously You podcast, reminding you to love even the ridiculous parts of yourself. Bye-bye now.
Share the spark, take it higher. Hit subscribe, bring a friend. Let the wildness never end.